is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Dark Tower, Book 4, Wizard and Glass, Part 3, Chapter 10, Beneath the Demon Moon. In this section, it turns out that the ball can lie. Kind of. Which just seems unfair. Welcome to Unspoiled. So welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
Interesting takeaway. I'm Miles, and that was an interesting takeaway from this chapter.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of other stuff happens, plot-wise. But really, for me, that was the thing, because we know Susan dies. Like, we know she does. And him constantly being like, and she'll be fine. She'll live, I could tell that. And I'm like, you could? And it turns out, like, he's saying it, but there is a little part of his brain that's, like, doing what I'm doing. Just very background, really? Uh-huh. And he's just ignoring it because he's kind of busy right now. And the way that it works, it's basically, like, pointed him so hard in this one direction that it's blocked out his, like, not rational thought, because it's too strong. It's just sort of made everything else feel unimportant enough at the moment for him to let it go, which is really freaky.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
And it's just so reminiscent of who he is now. You know, this passionate, that's been in him the whole time, but it feels like the ball kind of giving him this mission, sort of like, I'm not sure if it exacerbated that part of his personality necessarily, or if it just like felt him and who he was and was like, oh, this is perfect. Yes. Right. Excellent. I'm so glad you're here. Listen, this is what you need to do.
Yeah, and this is definitely the moment where, you know, he becomes, because the decision that he makes, you know, is like the first time really when you're like, oh, it's Roland. Okay. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot to get through on this one.
There is. Let us get started.
Let's get started. And we start with Susan being led through Seafront by Coral, who is going to lock her in the pantry.
Yeah, this like bouncing around in the timeline threw me off. I'm not really sure why he did it this way, because he has her being led to the downstairs. I guess it's not technically really bouncing around, because later on we see Shimi's point of view, and when we go to him, he's still following them. Like, Susan hasn't reached town yet. Yeah. So I guess really he's only doing it for us to see what Shimi was doing in the meantime.
And I think, you know, the whole gunfight thing, that all happened while she was being taken back to Seafront.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm not saying it took forever, but like, it lines up reasonably well.
Yeah, I don't like
close enough for government work, as they say.
I don't feel like it's like out. I just mean that the way that King tells the story can feel a little, because, you know, he'll do that thing like he did it in just a couple chapters ago, where it jumps ahead in time and she's going to meet Roland, and then it backs up again and it's like, oh, and then 2 weeks ago, and it's just an odd choice that I'm not really clear on why he feels the need to do it that way.
It's not a choice, especially because we're already in a fucking flashback.
Right, like the whole, it's just like kind of folding in on itself to a degree that I'm like, I don't know how much mileage this is really getting for you in terms of whatever narratively you want to accomplish here. I mean, it's easy to I can still understand it, but it just feels like a strange choice. But whatever, it's fine.
Anyway.
So yeah, she's being led down there, and she is just shooting her mouth off.
She is.
I was like, I just realized so much that I'm such a coward. Like, in everything, when I watch things and read things, I'm just like, man, people are speaking up and doing shit. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say that. I'd keep my mouth shut, keep my head down, hope for the best, hope nobody notices. Don't make them mad. Oof, no bueno.
I mean, I don't know. Online, you can be a little bit feistier.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No? No clue?
Everybody's a fucking warrior behind a keyboard.
That's legit. That's true.
But it's, when it comes down to it, when your actual self is in danger, then what?
Yeah, well, I mean, as she says here, like, she had been hurt by experts this day.
Yes, that's true.
And she's like, I don't even give a shit anymore. Like, what are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm.
So she just totally mouths off to Coral, says, you're never going to see Jonas again, which is what sticks in her head.
Yep.
She walks away and also says, I damn you for a murderer's bed bitch, but you've already damned yourself. You know it, too. It says written on your face, to be sure. So I'll just drop you a curtsy and wish you a very good day.
Oh, my God.
Damn.
Which, it's, like, kind of weird because it sounds a little bit like she's channeling her aunt in that moment for a second. Yeah. You know, like...
There's a family relationship there.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, basically Coral's just like, get the fuck in there, and closes the door and is a little bit more worried about Jonas than she tried to let on.
So then we go to
the bar. I mean, it says, okay, I guess 12 o'clock sounded from the bell on top of the gathering hall, and here we are in the Traveler's Rest. Mm-hmm.
And people are drunk and upset and just generally ready to, I don't know, like just throwing something out there, burn somebody alive.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't even say upset. Exactly, they're irritable. It feels to me like
they're petulant.
Yeah, like they're just like, come. I had a whole thing I was gonna do today, guys.
I know.
And yeah.
It reminds me of my best friend is like, I might have mentioned him before. I love him. He's a great guy, but he's also like drives me insane. And one of the things that can be common with him is that like if things don't go, if he had plans with somebody and like something came up,
he just throws a fit.
And they'll be like, well, okay, no, something came up, I have to do this, and then how about we do that later? And he'll be like, no, we had a plan, god damn it. Mm-hmm. That's what, so that kind of reminds me of that. It's like, this was supposed to be a celebratory time of happiness and goodwill, and let's bring in the new year, and these kids just had to fucking ruin it. I
gotta, real talk, that is me all over.
No, I'm not.
I cannot handle changes in plans. I can't do it. I'm trying to get better about it, and I can see it in myself when it happens. This rise of irritation that is so out of proportion to what is actually happening, and it doesn't matter how good the change is. Well, I was gonna go to the DMV, but I guess I'll go have drinks with my friends and see a movie. It should be great. I'm like, oh, good, I'm doing this instead. But no, I am fucking cranky about it. Last night, for example, Owen and I had been going to sit outside by the fire and read and drink some champagne and take a walk together and talk and just, kind of do that thing where couples try and interact. And instead,
supposed to watch something on TV. Yeah.
Well, kind of, you just can fall into this routine where you're around each other, but you're not with each other.
Right.
So you got to really make an effort once you've been together a while to stay with each other. And so I'm all excited to do this. I have like my step counter ready to go, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember, oh shit, Chris and Bitches and Money from the Buffy podcast are having a cocktail hour tonight. And he said he would like it if I would drop by. Let me do that for a few minutes and just say hi, and then we'll go. Ha 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 ha. No, that was at like, what, 9 o'clock? I didn't walk away from that until 12:30, and I was wasted by the end of it. And I did not go walking or go to a fire or do any reading or anything of the kind. And I had a good time, but then once I'm done, I'm walking away and I'm fucking pissed. I didn't get my walk in. I drank too much. I'm feeling bad because I ate Taco Bell because I had the munchies. And
Sure.
It's just, you know, it should have been fun. I should have let myself had fun. But no, I can't.
Well,
anyway.
I mean, that's, you know, I mean, absolutely not to throw shade on your decision, but that was your own damn fault, Natasha.
Well, that's exactly my point,
But-
though. Like, it doesn't have to be, it's not anything about why it happens, how it happens, or
Sure.
whether or not it's good or bad is irrelevant. It's just the fact that things didn't go the way that I planned them out this morning.
I totally get that. I think there's a little bit of a difference between that and like when something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like for me, you know, I do the same thing, and the worst ones for me is when it'll be like, you know, oh man, I had this beautiful day planned or whatever, or this thing planned, and like, you know, somebody had to go to the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like somebody died, or you
Well,
know,
I
get a
hope
call
that
about
somebody
that shit.
dying will fuck your day up, just like that.
No, but the thing is that at some point that has happened, and I've been like, part of me has been like, why did this have to happen now?
Yeah.
Like, I had this day planned, and you had to fucking break your leg. Like, what is your problem?
Yep.
Which is kind of more, I think, what's happening here, because it's like, we had this great thing planned, and these assholes just had to kill people.
Mm-hmm. And said assholes are getting away. And we don't
Yeah.
even know if we're going to get to do anything about it, which is it makes you feel so impotent.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, also makes you want to drink a little bit.
Time bit.
So it's into this environment that Rhea and Cordelia enter the room.
Yeah, so Rhea has taken the temperature of the town accurately.
Yep.
And she's like, listen, just between you and me, I know that you want to kill something. And I know that you're a little bit concerned that the bad luck that's landed on the town these past couple days, being that it's the new year, is just going to result in the fucking luck of the town being fucked up all year long. And wouldn't that be a shame? It's an awful nice year you got here.
It'd
Be a real shame
happened
if
to
something
it.
happened to it. So, basically, she's fucking led Cordelia in, who I'm still debating if she's alive. Part of me feels like Cordelia's like this puppet now that's like not even fully alive because of her paleness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But Cordelia is like, yeah, so Susan's a big old whore and probably fucked all those guys. And I think that it, you know, I hate to say it,
Right.
that because I'm her aunt and I say it out of love, we need to burn the bitch alive. And everybody's like, you know what? You make a lot of sense.
Great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love the way Rhea puts it, like just the rhetorical brilliance. She's like, now those other three are gone now, and frankly, it's probably a good thing. We don't need to waste our, to contaminate our soil with their blood. Let them go.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got somebody here who was raised among us, and she also plays their superstitions and says, if we don't do something, who knows what will spread to like the crops.
Right,
Because
exactly.
this whole thing is about reaping, ending the year.
Yep.
And she's very smart about this.
Yeah,
And yeah,
this whole thing is just really, reminding me of like the climate right now with everybody is like disillusioned and frustrated and angry, and they don't have anywhere to direct it. So some fucking psychobabble asshole comes in and it's
like
just
vote
like
Trump,
right, just like pointing a random finger at whoever.
right?
And it's like,
sure.
well, they're fucking it up, and everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
Guess, sure, yeah,
and I mean, guess what? In this story, the people in league with the ones who actually did it are the ones blaming somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And getting the crowd riled up. So, metaphor. Anyway.
It's almost like humankind is utterly predictable.
Oh, God. I love this show because we draw people in with the pretense of, like, talking about fun books and movies and shit. And then we just smack them in the face with the human condition. It's beautiful.
Oh, my God. Do you want to know something? Can I tell you a very short story? I swear it's short.
Sure.
Okay, so my book series that I'm writing, I told you that I had like a little bit of a breakthrough with it, and I've been doing the like Camp NaNoWriMo thing. I'm up to 33,000 words. I'm feeling very proud. I'm on schedule. And I am having this character who is 400 years old and has like 10 wives, and he came over with French explorers and set up shop pretty early on, and since he hasn't, died, he owns a lot of land and was able to sort of like set up his own tiny government that never really got taken down because he has all the money and tons of superpowers. So I'm like, where am I going to put this guy? Well, an island, probably. That'd be awesome, right? You pick somewhere isolated and then you can rule the roost from your fucking island. And so I'm like, all right, let's go up to the Great Lakes and put him there. Let's find some group of islands that would suit. Oh, look, Beaver Island on Lake Michigan. Let's check that out. Oh, what? There used to be a Mormon who lived there, and he had, 8 wives? And he set up his own government, and he crowned himself king. How about that? Dude, how predictable are dudes? Like, I made this shit up and was like, yeah, probably some asshole would pick an island and have, like, all these wives. Yeah! Apparently he fucking would. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are we serious right now? And he wound up getting, like, killed by his own people, get shot in the back because he fucked their wives. And that was just a few steps too far.
I'm just imagining, like, someday you get famous and you have to pretend that this was your inspiration the whole time. Like, how like, God, I do this every time I bring up fucking Game of Thrones, even though I hate that shit. I don't know why. But you know how, like, that story is supposed to be, everybody talks about how it's inspired by the Yorks and the Lancasters and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just wondering now if George Martin, like, the first time he published it, somebody was like, so you were inspired by this real historical event, right? And he's like, yeah.
Right, just lying about it.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, it floored me. I had to, like, take a copy of the Wikipedia, a screenshot of it, and send it to my friend who I'd already talked it over with. Because otherwise, I really don't think anybody would believe me that I had my idea first. Why would you? It's so similar.
Right, sure.
And yeah, and this guy basically, like, he created his own county that was named after himself and the whole thing. And basically, his people killed him, but they still tried to, like, live on as in this little Mormon community, and just everybody on the mainland was so sick of them and their fucking weirdo ways that they were like, nah, I don't think so. And once they heard that, like, the king was dead, they went in there and, like, took all these people out and took their land back. It was a pretty big deal. I had never even heard about it in my life. But
yeah.
There's, like, this, house that he used to live in that's, like, still there, and the, like, section of the island named after him and the whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, mankind is wildly
totally...
predictable.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And Rhea predicted them well.
Yep.
And I think specifically there's something to be said for the women being like, oh, I know what these dudes will do.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to Shimi. By the way, Charyu Tree, apparently.
Oh my God, can we not with that? Why does he think that's so good?
I can't not. Anyway.
Do you you get what I mean though? Like that's an author going back to a well over and over again because he's really like, yeah, that's gonna mean something. No, man, like that is, if anything, the weakest part of this. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know.
But whatever.
He does, like I said last week, he does it again with something else in the next book, and it just drives me insane. Anyway, so we go to Shimi at this point, and Shimi, in a brief little, like you said, little flashback of his own, we reveal that he ran after them until Capriccioso found him and bit him.
Bit him on the ass. Bless him. Capricciosa is like, listen, you have shit to do? Get up off your ass.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'll have to shit from a squats for a week, so I will. Won't be able to sit on the damn jakes.
Yeah. What does he call him? You old son of a bitch.
Big old son of a bitch.
I love it.
So he does follow her. He continues on horseback, or I think muleback. Isn't Capriccioso a mule?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think he makes it to Seafront, and he shows up, and old Miguel is there.
Drunk as a skunk.
And basically yelling at God.
Yep.
At one point, he calls God a maricon.
Which is pretty... That's pretty good. My dad used to use that one all the time. The other one was malparido, which I didn't know what it meant, and I said it to my Spanish teacher, and she gasped, and she was really scandalized, and I was like, "Wait, what does it mean?" And she's like, "Oh, I not tell you," because she was actually Spanish. She was like, "No." I was like, "Well, why did you gasp like that?" She's like, "You had a good accent. I not hear that word." I was like, "Oh man, all right." So all I know is that it means bad birth somehow, but I don't really understand the kind of visceral reaction that people have when they hear that. But yeah, maricon's a good one.
Yeah, maricon's a homosexual slur, so...
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I always thought that it just meant motherfucker.
No, it specifically means,
Yeah.
The other F word.
Yep.
So, anyway, so that's what he calls God, essentially, because he's, I guess, pissed off at the human condition. It's a rough thing.
Indeed.
And then he goes around looking for Susan and gets some help from a somewhat unlikely source.
Yeah. So here comes Olive in the clutch.
Seriously.
She is just disrespected right and left in this fucking book. And King just has to go ahead and disrespect her one last time before he kills her, which just feels fucking rude.
Because her plan doesn't work?
Her fucking gun doesn't go off, and then she just gets shot in the chest and blown off her horse.
It's so heartbreaking because, I'm okay with it because it's such a moment of oh shit, there's hope. Mm-hmm. And it's she has been such a discarded, unobtrusive, unimportant character for so long, and then she shows up. She's like, "No, actually, I'm pretty awesome, and we're doing this."
Right.
And you're like, "Oh hell yeah!" And even though you know Susan's gonna die, even though you know it, when they're riding out, you're like, "Oh, they got it. Olive did it."
I'm trying to be well, even if Susan dies, maybe it's not Olive's fault.
Right.
And it's not I want to say it's Olive's fault in the end, but
not.
Her gun doesn't go off, and that is embarrassing. That is just an embarrassing way to die.
That's rough.
King, let her have a tiny bit of dignity somewhere in here, but nah. Nope. Discarded and abandoned by her weapon. That's Olive.
Yep.
Sucks. She deserved better in death and in life.
She did. So you want to talk about what Roland is seeing in this ball?
Okay. It's so... I don't know. It is... I'm very confused about what this ball does, because I thought that it showed what was actually happening nearby. that each ball had a particular thing that it did. And this ball is playing real fast and loose with that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'll show you what's happening nearby, like, if I feel like it. But also things 30 years in the future and in another world. So...
Yeah, it says, unlike Rhea or Jonas, he is not watching the ball and the creatures who speak soundlessly within it. He is inside the ball, a part of its endless pink storm.
So that's why it's acting differently with him.
And I don't know why or how that happened.
Yeah.
But he is a participant, not just an observer in this case.
Which is such a weird thing because it felt like when he, you know, I got real mad at him, obviously, for using the ball at all in the first place.
Yeah.
But when he does, it feels so much like a matter of course, which is strange because I didn't get the impression when they were trying to get the ball in the first place that he had any interest in using it.
Right.
I didn't think he planned on it. But then as soon as he gets his hands on it, that is the first thing that he does almost without thinking, like he had planned to do it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's making me go, okay, so has the ball been looking for him this whole time? Is that what it is? Is that the ball is like waiting for the person to tell about what's going wrong at the tower to like get them to fix it? Because the ball does not seem benevolent, and that feels like a pretty benevolent mission. So I don't know. I'm like, you know, like kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I really don't.
So he sees, I think the first thing he sees that's kind of from his future, his past and future, is Sheb, the piano player.
Right.
Who is singing Hey Jude without a piano, and we know that he will later kill Sheb in Tull.
Right.
Then he sees the farmer who he runs into in that first book as well.
That had the crow.
Named Zoltan, I think was its name. Then he sees a wheelchair and thinks the Lady of Shadows without knowing why. Now the pink storm is carrying him over blasted mountains, now over a fertile green delta where a broad river runs its oxbow squiggles like a vein, reflecting a placid blue sky that turns to the pink of wild roses as the storm passes above. Ahead, Roland sees an uprushing column of darkness and his heart quails, but this is where the pink storm is taking him, and this is where he must go. He realizes he's inside the ball, and is like, I'm going to shoot my way out. Oh, wait, I have no guns, and also I'm naked.
Surprise! And
then he hears the singing. He sees Shimi's mule. He sees Rhea, who is wearing a sombrero and riding a broom festooned with fluttering reap charms, screaming, "I'll get you, my pretty."
I loved that so much. What a fucking thing to do. Oh, King. And what is it? Every time that he describes people wearing reap charms, they're festooned with them.
They're festooned, yeah.
Every single solitary time. I've been paying attention to it because festooned is a word that gets my attention. And it has been without fail. He has only used the words festooned when it's reap charms. And I'm like, man, what is that about, buddy? Anyway, but yeah, I'll get you my pretty was pretty awesome.
So he finds himself in this like horrible dark place of dead fields and deserted villages and blasted trees. And this is the edge of Endworld, and the voice says, "Gunslinger, this is Thunderclap. Here are the unbreathing, the white faces." And probably the roughest part about this is when he sees Oi.
I cannot. Can we not, please? That's all I'll say about that. Moving on.
So Oi has been impaled.
I
on a
said
tree.
Moving on, Miles.
Okay. Sorry. Look ahead, Roland, see your destiny. And he knows that this is the voice of the turtle,
Yeah, what's up, turtle? I see you.
He looks and sees a brilliant blue-gold glow piercing the dirty darkness of Thunderclap. Before he can do more than register it, he breaks out of the darkness and into the light like something coming out of an egg, a creature at last being born. And the voice of the turtle says, "Light, let there be light," which is what Walter said.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's in the field of red, the field of red roses, with the Dark Tower.
Right.
And in its spiraling windows, he sees fitful electric blue fire and hears the cries of all those pent within. He senses both the strength of the place and the wrongness of it. He can feel how it is spooling error across everything, softening the divisions between the worlds, how its potential for mischief is growing stronger even as disease weakens its truth and coherence, like a body afflicted with cancer. This jutting arm of dark gray stone is the world's great mystery and last awful riddle.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. He thinks to himself, "I will enter you, me and my friends, if Ka wills it so. We will enter you, and we will conquer the wrongness within you. It may be years yet, but I swear by bird and bear and heron and fish, by all I love that..." But then these clouds show up, and the turtle says, "You will kill everything and everyone you love, and still the tower will be pent shut against you." And Roland screams, "No, it will not stand. When I come here in my body, it will not stand. I swear on my father's name, it will not stand."
Yeah, man. He is, really, like, okay, you know what? I'm going to save this for after we get out of here. But, okay.
I mean, real quick, the turtle says, "Then die."
Yeah.
And, like, throws him against the tower. Before that can happen, he comes back, right?
Because they punch him in the face. Yeah. It's Alen this time who punches him.
That's right.
Yeah, because they're listening to him freak the fuck out, yelling that it will not stand. And they start to realize, because Alen at first is like, "I'm not knocking him out of this trance, because if you do that, sometimes people can go mad." Mm-hmm. But they're watching it, and they both know he is going to literally die in front of us from this thing. Yeah. And so he clocks him and knocks him the fuck out. And apparently he's out for a minute before he, like, comes back again. It's like 5 full minutes, which is kind of a long time to be unconscious.
Yeah, that's not great.
You know, like, yeah. But yeah, he would have probably fucking died from grapefruit exposure because if they hadn't been there.
I mean, the alternative is that he gained the proportionate speed and strength of a grapefruit.
That would be unfortunate. That's about what I've got, I think. He deserves better than that.
So yeah, he wakes up and he's back, and they're like, "What'd you see?" And he's like, "Lots of stuff, but we gotta go."
Yeah, we've gotta go because we have work to do and also a tower. And they're like, yeah, no, though, that tower's not real. And he's like, "No, it is. Trust me." And he says something about how, BT Dub Susan got abducted. And Cuthbert's a bit freaked because, you know, he just had to, like, deck his friend in the face because he was so in love with this girl that he was, like, doing wildly irresponsible, irrational things. And now he's suddenly so focused that he hears that his girlfriend got taken and he can just keep on with his work and not turn around and immediately try and save her. This is not the dude that I knew.
Right. He says this wasn't the ardent lover of the last few months. Mm-hmm. It was as if Roland had found a dream to ride through the pink air within the ball, and part of him rode it still. And yeah, and Roland says, "I'd turn around in a second if I thought her life was in any real danger."
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, about Roland. That, buddy.
Buddy. He got bamboozled.
Yeah. And I'm looking for.
I had to.
And he says we can never be as we were.
Yeah, that is a fucking bummer. Like, I don't care that much about them as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment is like one of those. There was a moment like that in my marriage where it was like, you suddenly, what he says is that his car is the tower and hers isn't. And that is just all there is to it.
Yeah.
And there was a moment when I was with Brendan where I said something about how I would really like to do something. And it wasn't like an idle, like, oh, one day I'd love to do that. It was like, I really, really want to do this thing. And he was just like, oh. And it's not like a car thing, like my destiny, like my, purpose in life. But it was a moment where his reaction of total disinterest in something that I was feeling pretty passionate about at the time, it was like a slap. It was like, and not like an insult. It was like a slap of like, oh, we are not on the same plane anymore. We used to be on exactly the same page, to the point that we would just read each other's minds. Mm-hmm. And then one day it was brought to my attention that we weren't there anymore. And it's like a weird thing when it happens, because it's like something has cracked and you didn't notice until it's like done, and there is no way to retrieve the way it used to be. You can't reach back and get it. You can remember what it felt like to be on the same page and to feel like your paths were completely intertwined. You remember that had happened, that you felt that way at one point, but it's gone and it's inexplicable how it just evaporated like that. And that moment where he's just like, it can't be that way between us anymore, just because of this vision that he had.
Well, it's just like
such, yeah, but it's like, still, that is an enormous thing to say.
Oh yeah, no, it's
huge. Yeah.
I mean, and it's, and like Cuthbert is like, dude, there's no dark tower. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, it's real, it's broken, and I gotta fix it.
Yep.
And that's just all there is to it. He says, like, I could have chosen to not do that, and I would have chosen a life with her as her husband and the father of her child, but I chose the tower. He says, I choose the tower.
And he says that their parents knew.
Yeah, he does say that too.
Which I thought was interesting. He's like, oh no, it's real, and our fathers know it's real. BT dubs.
Like, it's a breakneck shift.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he even says that like John Farson doesn't fucking matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna deal with his dudes, but just because they're in our way and they're gonna be a problem,
right?
Like, this is bigger than all of it, and it's just, and he's even like got two little like some white hair, like some strands of white hair now, and I mean, it's interesting, but it's weird to me. It's like a snap of the fingers, and he has rearranged every priority that he has in his life, and it's weird. I don't know if I like it or not. Huh?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Because if there is anything that we know about Roland, it is that he is practical to the point of coldness. And he just found out that this one thing will destroy everything. Everything. That even if he chose to be with Susan, the world would be falling apart while he was trying to live his life with her.
Yeah, but he didn't really find out shit. I mean, he saw some visions in a ball.
That sounds like a much more intense experience than just like, I fell asleep and dreamed a thing.
I know. No, I'm sure it was. It's just like, I don't know. You would see, that's the thing about Roland though, is that I feel like if this had happened to one of the other two,
Mm-hmm.
like they would have been at some point they would have said to themselves, well, who knows what's actually the truth, because all I did was look into this ball and it showed me some things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yes, I had this experience, and yes, it it made me think, but Roland is just like, nope, this is how it is. Like, he feels like it's real, he feels like it's right,
Mm-hmm.
and he just goes with it. And it's fine. Like, I feel like it's in character for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else you do the story of how Roland found out about about the Dark Tower. It's just like, oh well, he looked into a pink crystal ball and saw it. It's like, I don't know. It seems a little bit lazy.
Okay.
Narrative wise.
I'm too early into this to say that, because I can understand what you think, why you say that. I don't agree, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong. But I definitely would have to wait and see. Because at the moment, this doesn't feel lazy to me at all. It feels like, how else do you find out about something as grand as the literal structure of the universe?
That's the thing. Like, I don't know what the alternative would be.
Other than being led by the hand by a literal god.
Yeah, it's probably, it was honestly probably the best way to do it.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it wasn't. It just, like, it feels so, I mean, it almost feels that way of like, oh, plucked from your story and here's another one.
Right.
And Roland feels that way too. I think maybe it's good that I feel that way about it, because maybe what I'm feeling about it is the way Roland is feeling about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, holy shit, this all just happened, but it's undeniable that it happened. We got some shit to finish up, but no, it's better that I don't see her again, because this is gonna be really hard. This is gonna be hard enough,
Right?
And I don't know. It just seems, like I said, it feels really quick and dirty in terms of storytelling.
Okay.
But I don't think it's the wrong way to do it necessarily. I don't know. When you're dealing with shit like this, it's like you have to do it somehow.
Yeah, yeah, this is a fear of mine regarding my storyline, that, I'm trying to come up with organic ways to introduce some backstory without just a massive, exposition dump, or doing something as kind of grandiose and seemingly easy as this. And I'm not really sure if I will be able to accomplish that or not. Remains to be seen. But yeah, when it's something of this scale, like, who tells you and why would you believe them versus an object that actually takes you into itself and shows you basically what amounts to firsthand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, one can argue that, well, it seems like it's firsthand, but it's just, and maybe it's not. Well, sure. Okay, fine. You can argue anything. He could actually literally be there, and you could argue that he is being blinded and deceived, and what he's seeing isn't what he's seeing. Like, that just could go on forever, that argument. So to a point, you're going to eventually have to trust whatever. And his instincts are so good that if he decides that he's going to trust that something is true, then as a reader, I'm like, all right, well, Roland hasn't steered me wrong most of the time yet. So
sure. Yeah. So we mentioned, I don't know, everything that's happening with Olive and Susan and Shimi is kind of perfunctory.
Right.
I mean, they escape.
Mm-hmm.
Olive and Susan send Shimi back to basically head off anybody coming after them with lies.
And Shimi, thankfully, is not there when the whole thing goes down with Susan, as we find out here.
And we actually, I believe we, well, I'll say that for another time. Because I don't remember if the book had talked about the thing I was going to talk about yet.
Oh,
okay. I can't recall. But so then we go back to Roland and Cuthbert and Elaine, and they straight up ride up to to Latigo's men, Latigo's men, whatever you want to ever call it, Latigo. They know Farson's like gestures, like his secret handshakes.
It sounded like you said jesters, like he had some court jesters, and they like knew them personally.
Yeah, they're friends with them.
They're really in on that scene.
And Cuthbert like is apparently a really great mimicker of accents, which makes sense to me. So they just basically get in.
Yep.
And just draw their guns, and they have the machine gun too.
Oh my god, this was pretty amazing. So basically, Roland's in charge of killing people. Elend's in charge of blowing as many holes in the actual like tanks as possible. And Cuthbert is in charge of putting the like little firecrackers into his slingshot and getting them exactly where they need to go to send everything up on fire. And they're so good at it. And the guy who like put these things away, these tanks, is so bad at it that they thought they were going to have to do a lot in order to get all of them up. But it turns out they're all like positioned so closely together that they do one and that's it. And they're all done. It's basically the same thing as what happened with the
in Sitgo, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it really is like at one point Roland's thinking, you know, you'd think that the shootout with Jonas and his guys would have put them on their guard. And I'm like, yeah, you'd think, right? But I guess, I mean, I can kind of understand being like, well, they just had this big battle. They're probably not going to come after us tonight because that battle was just so that they could get away, right? They're thinking that these guys were just trying to escape imprisonment, not that they are specifically out to get us. They don't even like really realize that yet. So I guess it makes sense that they're just sort of like doping around like a bunch of goofs, not really keeping an eye out in any way. But yeah, this scene is pretty brutal. Like I do
everybody's
love, just getting splattered.
I love Len talking to his horse.
Oh my god, yeah.
Jigger rear when I start shooting and I'll knock your fucking brains out.
Yep. And the horse is like, got it, boss. Like, he seems to know. Because
he's got the touch. Len does, you know, so he probably could kind of convey that sense to the horse.
That's so rude. That horse is working hard, buddy. Come on.
Right. Real quick, before they actually start blowing up the tankers, Susan and Olive get caught by Reynolds.
Right.
And Laszlo Reimer, who was Kimba Reimer's brother.
Right.
And again, we talked about kind of how awesome it is that Olive is Olive, you know, kind of a badass here.
Mm-hmm.
Right before she dies. And she does get some good, you know, like she knows everything that's been going on. Kimba Reimer took all the treasury, and Reynolds is the one who killed him, and they're telling her to shut up, and she's like, nope, I know all this shit. I know all your damn secrets. You thought I was just fucking nothing.
Yeah.
I know everything. Which is great.
Except that it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it bums me out.
I do like that when she pulls out the massive old gun. It's so huge. And Reynolds just looks at her, and it says Jonas would have wept.
I loved that line. Because he's just so stunned. And, like, it's not even like she does it so fast. It gets caught on the edge of her, like, poncho. And then when she tries to thumb back the hammer, she has to use 2 thumbs to do it because it's so friggin' big. So, like, nothing about this is graceful or quick, but he's still, if she had not had a bad, like, batch of bullets or whatever, if the, you know, powder was wet, whatever it was, she still would have fucking killed him, even though she was not quick. So, yeah. Dude,
I really wish that she would have just been allowed to have at least killed him.
Exactly.
Like, Susan can still get caught. It's fine. Like, they can still kill Olive. It's fine. Can she at least take that motherfucker's head off first?
Right.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think that was King a little, like, leaning into a little bit that some people just are never afforded any dignity. Like, that's just how their lives go. And whether or not they actually deserve it is kind of irrelevant because she clearly did.
Yeah.
But that,
I guess.
Unfortunately, that's sometimes how it goes, and people can try and undo it at the end, but...
I would have been really okay with less realism on this particular point.
I totally get that, yeah. That's something that I constantly, like, go back and forth on when I'm reading things. On, like, do I want this to feel... like fucking vindicating and life affirming, or do I want this to seem real? Like,
right,
and
yeah.
Sometimes because it really it's a shame how precious few moments of vindication we get in life.
So, Roland and his friends blow up the tankers.
They sure
all
do.
Of them. And then he actually doesn't kill Latigo, even though he could.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not part of the plan. After they blow everything up, they start heading toward the canyon with the thinny in it.
Yep.
And there's a great line where a bullet whizzes past his ear as they're riding toward the canyon, and it says it was, so far as he knew, the only shot fired at any of them during the assault on the tankers.
That is embarrassing.
Because they're that good. Speaking of people who don't have any dignity.
Right? Like, God.
I mean, between this and them taking out all those dudes in Jonas's party, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And Latigo just does exactly what he was supposed to do, which is be like, everybody after them.
Mm-hmm.
They're going into this box canyon, and we have them dead to rights.
Yeah, he apparently has not familiarized himself with the landscape, buddy.
I mean, he says, I believe someone told me it's a box.
Yeah.
Which means he hasn't been out there.
Yep.
Which means he doesn't know what's out there.
So yeah, he is just like, I kind of thought that the thinnies were kind of like, even if you hadn't run across one, that you like knew what it was, but he doesn't recognize it when it's in front of his face.
Right.
So yeah, I guess these are still just part of legend for a lot of people. Hello.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here.
You've there's been a couple times tonight where you've just kind of like dropped off, and I thought that I lost you.
I'm kind of skimming through, like, trying to see, what I should talk about. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like, so they go to the canyon. They're waiting for him, and they're gonna basically they have a bunch of dry scrub that they're gonna set on fire behind the raiding party, behind Latigo's party, as soon as they come through.
Right.
And Cuthbert is like, let me do it. Roland's like, no, this part is mine.
Boys, you're both pretty.
He thinks about Susan again. Thank God for Shimi. He'll make sure she finishes the day someplace safe. But the craven whine of the thinny seemed somehow to mock him, to ask him if there had been more to see.
Yeah.
Which there was.
I just hate, like, yeah. I like that this isn't, it's not, it didn't lie exactly, but it has an agenda, man.
It didn't show him the rest.
It's messed up.
Yeah. He lights the match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drops it into the powder for the trap they've set, saves Cuthbert and Elen from walking into the thinny again.
Yeah. Whoa. That was like, I thought for a second that was going to be how these boys checked out. I was a little worried. Like, and it just shears the toes right off of Cuthbert's boots.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which really reminded me a lot of the Lobstrosities.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
Taking off the tip of Roland's boot.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
And he, like, has to fire his gun to the air.
Mm-hmm. Twice
and they're
he
like,
has to.
yeah, and they're like, Roland, it talks.
Yep.
Like, I know. And then Latigo brings in his men, and I love his like train of thought here, because he goes through and he's thinking Box Canyon, Box Canyon, Box Canyon, hell yeah. And then it says, yet something began to intrude on this mantra as he galloped deeper into Eyebolt, his horse's hooves clattering nimbly through the scree of rocks and bones, whitish piles of cow skulls and rib cages. Box Canyon, got him in the Box Canyon.
It makes me think of like the dog with the bacon commercials. It's bacon! Bacon, 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 bacon.
Yeah. And by the time anybody realizes what's happening, it is way too fucking late.
Oh man, it is pretty gruesome in that rather than everybody just accidentally running into it, a lot of people in the end choose to walk into it because of it speaking to them, which is just an ugly detail that I really like, that makes it so much more freaky, this whole thing. Because it'd be one thing if they all just, were unable to avoid it and ran into it. It would feel more like, oh, there was a cliff here and they didn't see it and they all just ran right off the edge, But having it be something that can actually, again, have an agenda, like the pink ball. Mm-hmm. It's just alarming. It just gives the whole scene a much more sinister feeling. It's not just about this victory that these boys have. They utilize this kind of fucked up thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up, and it's smart of them to use it the way that they do, but it's just this side of okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ultimate, desperate measure, extreme embrace of something not good to get rid of your enemy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it destroys them.
Completely. They're gone. They're gone. They're just wiped from the face of Earth. Or whatever that's called.
Mm-hmm. And then is when he realizes.
Yeah. It's like he was so caught up in this battle and so revved with the whole plan and everything. And it's like the spell breaks once he has completed this mission. It almost feels like the ball wanted him to do this thing and wanted him to stay focused and get this one thing done before he got distracted. I don't know.
Well, okay, so what he thinks to himself after he realizes that it's night, basically, like the sun has gone down, and the moon has come up, and long ago somebody left with the cup.
What?
Sorry, nothing.
Is that like a song lyric?
Yes.
You goof.
You need to listen to more Cake. Anyway, he thinks to himself, I'd turn around if I thought her life was in any real danger, he had said in a second. And if the ball knew that, if it couldn't lie, might it not misdirect? Might it not take him away?
Right. I
might it not take him
away
away and show him a dark land, a darker tower, and it had shown him something else, something that recurred to him only now, a scrawny man in farmer's overalls who had said, what? Not quite what he'd thought, not what he had been used to hearing all his life, not life for you and life for your crop.
Death for you.
Yeah, death for you, life for my crop, which is apparently, I'm guessing, the literal meaning of char you tree, because get it, death you, and then tree. Do you get it, Natasha?
Anyway. And there is a moment where Susan's and she's like, char, which only meant death. Holy shit, Steven. We get it. Can you just chill?
Oh God, I can't. I it's such a horrible moment and a horrible realization. I feel so bad laughing about it, but it's so ridiculous.
I just dude, we know you have said this more times than was necessary without that line.
That phrase occurs, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's see.
As far as I can remember,
4,
3, but 3 is too many already.
I can see 4 instances on page 627 in my copy of the book.
Oh, you mean just char you tree? I meant char. Char means death.
No. Char you tree 4 times on this page.
Okay.
Which is like, I get that there's a poetry element to all of this, and repetition is part of that, but damn, dude, like, at least make it a good poem. Anyway.
Yeah, it feels like he wanted us to have this sort of visceral reaction, and that is a really hard thing to accomplish with, like, a fictional word. It at least has to be a word that feels rooted in like a language that we're familiar with, even if it's not necessarily in our language. You know what I mean? Like Voldemort. Voldemort is like, based obviously on a lot of Latin words, and it's what we all know. Yeah, it feels like there's a part of us that we're like, yep, I know what this means, even though we don't.
Right.
And this doesn't have it. It just doesn't.
Yeah. He wants it to a lot.
Yeah.
And there's enough dread just in the thing in general that it's still okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But it
really
undermines it.
Yeah, I think it does too.
To me, like, this whole scene, if they didn't do this, I would have found much more upsetting. But instead, I felt like my brain kept swatting this word away. Like I was getting distracted by it and kind of mentally going, "Oh, stop!
Even
if
it was just like the phrase "come reap," like that's creepy,
right?
Like that would be fine if it was just that.
Mm-hmm.
If they were all chanting "come reap" at the end when they were burning her,
yeah,
like that would be fucking creepy as shit and effective. This is just like, and it's not even fully a made up word. It's like real words smushed together, and you're telling us that one part of them means death over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's like, because I'm saying, like, use parts of words that we know or from a language we know, but the thing is he's using full words that we do know and that have distinctly unscary meanings. So it doesn't, he like went too far with something that was familiar without considering that, like, you and tree are not frightening. And I'm not, no matter how many times you tell me what this word is supposed to mean, I can't unlearn that I know what you and tree are. I can't hear Charyu Tree and not hear you and tree in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think I kind of like convoluted that when I'm like, base it in a language we know. He did, but he used full words instead of like syllables that might have actually been effective. Yeah.
And it's a very like, I don't know, abstract isn't quite the right word, but it's like, it has the feel of a poem in this moment. I mean, everything is going together. He sees the moon, and it's orange, and the moon is up, which means it's nighttime. What does nighttime remind me of? Well, the moon is orange. Orange is the color of bonfires. It's like all this shit is tied together. He hears the witch cackling, he hears the thinny cackling. They're both telling him the same thing. Is the voice talking to him the witch's voice, or is it the thinny's voice, or is it the thinny pretending to be the witch? And it's like, it works so damned well in terms of just building this feeling inside you, and I really do agree that Charyu Tree undermines it because it's just so bizarre and frankly funny. But but still, I think, in my opinion, while it could have been, while without that phrase over and over again, it would have been more effective. It's still pretty damn effective.
It still is, yeah. I just I found it really distracting. That's really the main word I would use, is distracting.
You know what? One thing I think is really interesting is that I don't think I noticed or thought about before is that the first person that Susan sees on her way to the bonfire, and the first person who says "Charyu Tree" to her, is described as a man with long red hair and a straw hat, and he's a farmer.
Yeah.
So, like, that's interesting. Because it was clearly referencing the dude with the bird from the Gunslinger.
Oh, so you think it's the same guy that he...
I don't even think it's the same guy necessarily. It's just interesting. It's an interesting parallel. Like, again, it's poetic shit. It's like...
okay.
He can't leave you... What am I trying to say? We talked earlier about how King refused to break the realism with the whole olive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at this moment, the realism is done. And we have totally succumbed to poetry.
Okay.
I mean, just in terms of how this is working. Because it's like, do I think it's the same guy, the same farmer that Roland will run into, I don't know, centuries later?
Yeah, how much time later is it?
I don't know.
That's never really established.
Sheb is still around, so who knows?
Right.
But I don't know. Do I think it's the same person? No, not really. But it's like, of course, that's the first person she sees.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of like feeling, and I think he is effective at moving back and forth between those two kind of environments.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I mean, they drag Susan to the bonfire and they burn her alive.
Yep.
I mean, it's not. There's a lot of description, again, a lot of poetry here.
He says that she was aware of heat but not pain, which I was like, well, that's some small mercy.
Something hidden, something secret, something to do with that root word, shar, that word which meant only death.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is what I'm talking about, man.
As the dried shucks fluttered around her boots, she understood the secret very well. Understood also that there would be no baby for her, no wedding for her in the fairy distant land of Gilead, no hall in which she and Roland would be joined and then saluted beneath the electric lights, no husband, no more nights of sweet love. All that was over. The world had moved on, and all that was over, done before fairly begun. Well,
yeah, that's really sad.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh.
It's awful. I mean, and the fact that it's her own people doing this, like,
it's her fucking aunt is the first one to throw
people she knows. I know,
yeah, she's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. I actually underlined this one part, because in particular, a lot of King's writing style, it's not the actual words he chooses that are poetic. It's like the way that he weaves things together. But every now and then there are some words that he picks that I'm like, that is viscerally excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is rough, and I loved it. Hendrik's horse went down, eyes rolling, bit-parted teeth snapping at the smoky air and splattering curds of foam from its lips. Hendrix fell into the steaming, stagnant water, and it wasn't water at all. It came alive somehow as he struck it, grew green hands and a green, shifty mouth, pawed his cheek and melted away the flesh, pawed his nose and tore it off, pawed at his eyes and stripped them from their sockets. It pulled Hendrix under, but before it did, Latigo saw his denuded jawbone, a bloody piston to drive his screaming teeth.
Mm.
Yo!
Nice.
That's fucking metal. That is really good. I had to stop and reread that a couple times because I was just like, that is beautifully done. God damn. Oh, a bloody piston to drive his screaming teeth. Jaw hikes. Every here and there, he does deaths pretty fucking well.
Yep.
Sorry, he does chars pretty fucking well.
Oh man.
Sorry, everybody. Everybody hates
Roland,
me.
Roland realizes that there's no way he's getting there in time to stop this.
Yep.
Demands the ball.
Yep.
Looks into it, sees what's happening, starts screaming no over and over again. They're throwing vegetables at her and just like generally being assholes, and Cuthbert's like, hit him again, like get him out of this, but that doesn't work. Yeah,
that I think this whole like I'm just loving the fact that this ball has like its own weird personality. Because it just freaks me out. It makes everything so much worse.
It seems like it wanted him to lose her so that it could, like, feed off his grief.
And it also wanted, like, I'm convinced that it wants him to go to the tower, which I feel like is a bad deal. And it knew that he wouldn't if he stayed with Susan. So it had to pull him in the other direction to kill her. Because he can't be held back by anyone from his mission.
True. And you know what? They do say the only reason that Susan didn't get away with Olive is because the ball had previously showed Rio which way they would go.
Right.
So there is that to be considered.
Yeah, that was I meant to bring that up because Olive like seems to know what's up and picks a direction that is not how Susan would have gone if she were by herself trying to run. So when they like wind up being on that very road, I'm like, what the fuck? And then here comes Rhea cackling in her goddamn cart like a freak. And of course, she has gotten the ball to tell her where. And I'm like, yeah, this ball needs Susan to die. That's all there is to it. It's just so the fact that he's like screaming no and his hands are glued to it. They try and pull it out of his hands and it won't move. They punch him and he doesn't even stagger back.
No.
He has no reaction at all. It's just, he's absolutely frozen. And the only thing that works is finally Court pulls his gun and points it at the ball like he's going to just shoot it. Oh yeah, that's right. I always do that. And he points it at the ball because even though this is what they came for, he can't, like, they're watching him get his life sucked out of him, basically. And the ball knows. The ball's like, oh shit. And just like shuts down.
Sorry, dude. Sorry. My bad.
Right?
Didn't mean to, like feed on your friend's anguish.
I mean, I did mean to, but sorry it offended you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to piss you off. Didn't think you mind, to be honest.
And so,
I love the bit where after that, Elen is like about to step on it, and Cuthbert is like, don't you fucking dare.
Yeah, and Elen, it says that he would deeply regret not doing it later on. And I'm like, God damn it. I hate when writers do that. Like, I love it. It works really well.
Yeah.
But I fucking hate it.
No.
There was this, I just finished Kite Runner today, and there's a part where he's eating grapes, and he's like, little did I know it would be the last solid food I ate for months. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then later on, there's a part, and a year later, I would think back to the last words I had heard him speak. And it turns out that this person just goes mute for like a whole year. So yeah, there moments when writers do this, and Stephen King is like a pro with this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, eating from his fingers that would soon be gone. And I'm like, what? And you know what kills me about that?
They would actually not see each other for a long time. Or
he
whatever.
Didn't lose his fingers until the second book.
I know.
So that is a long con. That is like, it's not even like, oh yeah, I'm going to plant this here for like a later chapter. I'm going to plant this here for a later book. Ouch. That's just kind of mean. But it's pretty good. Anyway.
The scene where she gets burned is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to quote from it that much.
That's fair. I mean, you did about everything that with her knowing that it wasn't going to happen for her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But not the actual burning part.
I mean, there's a lot of really great writing here, and that kind of sucks.
Right.
But
one thing that I liked was when she screams, "Roland, I love thee." The crowd fell back, murmuring as if uneasy at what they had done, now that it was too late to take it back. Here was not a stuffy guy, but a cheerful girl they all knew, one of their own, for some mad reason, backed up against the Reap Night bonfire with her hands painted red. They might have saved her, given her another moment. Some might have, anyway, but it was too late. I'm like, damn.
What do you mean Trump's president? I mean, I know we voted for him, but...
Right? But somebody was supposed to step in and have a level head.
Somebody was supposed to stop us, yeah.
I was supposed to be able to have a tantrum and not have to suffer the consequences. What is so hard to understand?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so... Rhea and Cordelia are both just, like, taunting her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, saying awful things to her. They're all saying tree over and over again. But the one thing I would quote is just this last paragraph is actually pretty beautiful. Because you made reference to it earlier. It says, at the end of her life, she was aware of heat but not pain. She had time to consider his eyes of that blue which is the color of the sky at first light of morning. She had time to think of him on the drop, riding Rusher flat out with his black hair flying back from his temples and his neckerchief rippling, to see him laughing with an ease and freedom he would never find again in the long life which stretched out for him beyond hers. And it was his laughter she took with her as she went out, fleeing the light and heat into the silky, consoling dark, calling to him over and over as she went, calling bird and bear and hare and fish.
Yeah, I won't lie, I had dropped a little tear on that one.
Yeah, it's rough. The whole thing is just like, it's really affecting.
This is like a deep fear of mine, is dying away from Owen, or him dying away from me. That's what kills me more than just her death, is just that he doesn't get to say goodbye to her. He doesn't get to have a single hand in doing anything to save her. He doesn't get to see her eyes. He doesn't get to hear her. It's just, the last time they spoke, they didn't know would be the last time they spoke. And that is like such a deep fear that it's hard for me to even like think about it without freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the last time I spoke to my dad, I didn't know, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 days later, I get a call that he's dead. And it's one of those things where people like say, be careful, because the last thing you say might be the last thing you say. And it sounds really cliched, but you just fucking never know.
Yeah. And to have that compounded with the sheer betrayal of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you've got, you know, I'm not going to say it's like a consistent fear of mine, but, you know, I mean, think about what it would be like if, like, two people that inexplicably despise you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no real reason for it, but they just really hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, like, really, it's only one of them. Because Cordelia is not herself.
No, something's going on.
Think. I mean, she is, you know, she is not, she is hypnotized or possessed or undead or something.
Yeah.
So really, it's this one person who has this inexplicable grudge against you because of something you said once that was wrong or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they have managed to get everyone you know to hate you too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, yeah. I mean, like I said, not a regular fear of mine, but I can see how that would be awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've seen things like, you know, not obviously on this scale or this intensely where somebody was fearing for their life, but I have seen like this in miniature where hateful people have turned it around and somehow made it seem like the one other person was hateful, mm-hmm. and gotten everyone else to believe it for a while. And most of the time it winds up correcting itself. Like, eventually the person who's being targeted just is so baffled at everything that they don't even lash out because they're just confused. And people start to realize, oh, maybe they're not terrible. It's just like, I'm wasting my energy here. But the damage is done by then. They know that those people that they thought were their friends are capable of turning on them like that. And that's just a tough thing to like live with, knowing that most of your friends aren't really that into it. It just takes a skilled orator or somebody who's pretty manipulative to twist them around completely. And that's like a bummer that you feel like you have to be on your guard from then on, Yeah. So that's just, Roland is not himself when they leave this place. It is.
And this is their departure.
Yeah.
It's time to leave. Mm-hmm. And he is unconscious and then simply unresponsive.
Unconscious for days. Like he's in a coma.
Yeah.
And finally, when he comes out of it, he's like not eating. Then he starts eating, but he's not speaking still. It really is kind of remarkable that the parallels between different things that I cover at the same time, because I just finished season 2 of Penny Dreadful and started the 3rd season. And I watched the premiere of the 3rd season today. And there is a character who has suffered a terrible loss, who is like not eating and not sleeping and living in this house and hasn't cleaned it so that there are flies everywhere. Just existing, like managing to stay alive barely, but not interested in it, not caring to do it, just doing it because they feel like they kind of should.
Yeah.
And it's just it felt so parallel to what Roland is going through here that I was just like, man, this always happens. Like these things happening to more than one character that I'm covering at a time. But yeah, I feel like if it weren't for his friends being around him, I feel like he could just probably have stayed put somewhere and like just kind of like, I don't even want to say let himself die because I don't think he could ever do that. He's too driven.
Yeah.
But I think he could have like left himself behind for a while. More than he's probably going to do with his friends there to try and snap him out of it. We'll see, I guess. But I'm just glad he has people with him is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep. That's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
That is the end of the flashback.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, shit. So it's kind of funny because, like, Roland, when he's about to tell them the flashback, he's really, like, kind of worried about telling them because he's like, you guys are just not going to think the same of me. And I'm like, looking at this, I'm like, I think they still will, though, won't they? Like, this is pretty much you in a nutshell. We all know who you are, buddy. Like, do you think they don't know? Is really the question. Like, do you think that they have a different idea of you? And it explains, like, him being in the ball when Eddie is like, how do you know everybody's perspective in this story? I think that has to be how, right? That he got it from there? From the ball?
From the ball.
Maybe?
That makes sense.
Because that was the same thing that I asked when we started this. I was just like, this can't be like completely a flashback because this is half of it he wasn't even there for, so that doesn't make sense. But then Eddie asked that exact question, so I'm like, oh, okay, so it is. It's just that he knows things in a different way somehow. Which, we don't really know what happened to that ball, so I feel like that can't be good. And when Cuthbert wakes up, he always, like, has it, but it's not lit. And Cuthbert's like, yeah, that fucking thing is making sure to only light up when we are not around.
Yeah.
Because it has learned that Cuthbert will point a gun at it.
Right.
Which is kind of hilarious. Like, it's like if you're dating somebody who knows that your friends don't approve and they just like, well, I'll just text you. I'm not going to call. I'm not going to do that thing. So that worries me. Just that, like, he has this attachment to this thing now that really misled him purposefully, apparently. And, I mean, he's not stupid. He knows that. But, like, knowing and being able to control yourself are not the same thing. So I don't like where that's going, and I don't like that Alen will bitterly regret not having done it, as he puts it. Because, you know, that's just like kind of a rude thing to drop in there.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. That's about it.
That is about it. So I'm looking through now we've got 5 more chapters to go, Natasha.
Damn.
And these are pretty short.
Okay. Everything seems short compared to this one.
Yeah, this was a long chapter. But seriously, in these 5 chapters, there's like 60 pages. Which this chapter was like 50.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is, because they go so well together, if you're willing, let's do the next 3.
Okay. That works for
next
me.
week. And then we'll finish off with the last 2.
Next 3. Okay. Cool. So shit, I'm gonna have to buy the next book. Dun dun dun. I'm kind of considering getting a Kindle. Like,
yeah.
I really like having the paper book, but it is awfully convenient to be able to, like, take notes directly on the thing without actually having to carry a highlighter with me everywhere, which I don't always do, and sometimes I desperately want to highlight things or remember them. I just hate that it's like another thing to remember to charge and the whole shebang, you know? Like, I just kind of like to be able to pick up a book. And also, Owen and I like to go to the park to read. And when we read, I read books and he reads comics. And he uses the iPad. And that's fine because it's an iPad. But in Texas, it's windy. And I have tried to read actual paper books and it doesn't go great. I have had pages just tear in my hand because the wind is so ridiculous. So part of me is also like, I would really like an e-reader so that I can go out and read in the sun and, you know, relax in the park and not have to, like, worry about pages going flying everywhere. So anyway, if you guys are in possession of Kindles, let me know how you like them and what kind you have, because I know that there's like 10 different ones at this point.
I have one, but I honestly just use the one on my phone. Like, I have the Kindle app.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. I just feel like my phone runs out of battery so quick that it would probably be fine, but it's also kind of small. But I guess it would work in a pinch. Yeah, all right. I guess I could, like,
I'm just saying that's
use
how I do
what
it.
I have. God, Miles.
Sorry.
Ruin everything for me. Why don't you?
I don't mean to spoil your fun.
All right, so new patrons real quick, and also I have a little announcement about some future shows that I'm going to be doing.
All right.
So, new patrons this week: Natalie P, Tosca, Chris Uso, and Alex Bazan, or Bazan. I think it's Bazan. Welcome to all of you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure to register on unspoiledpodcast.com and join the Facebook group. And yeah, I am, like, just delighted to have you. And I'm getting really, really close to one of my Patreon goals, which is it's a really weird number. It's 429 patrons. I don't know why I picked that. I have no memory of choosing that number, but I did. And I am currently at 415 out of 429.
Wow.
So I'm really, really close. And the reward for that one is I will cover the Godfather trilogy, which I have never seen. I haven't even seen like clips of it. I won't say that I'm totally unspoiled because you cannot be alive in the world and work in anything like pop culture stuff and not be some spoiled for it. But I'm pretty close to unspoiled on it. So
I kind of want to like tell everybody not to become patrons so I can help spare you.
How dare you?
I'm an outspoken not a fan of the Godfather series.
But well, even so though, I'm sure you'd like to hear me talk about it, right? Because what if I hate it?
I would love to. The first one is a beautifully constructed film, and extremely influential just in terms of like how movies are made. I just don't like watching it.
That's fair. I totally know what you mean by that.
And it's like the best of the three. So
yeah, there's a couple movies I feel like that about where I'm like, yeah, this is an amazing work of art, and also never make me watch this again.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the Godfather. But I would love to know your thoughts on it. So everybody actually should go out and become patrons.
Yeah, so I only have 14 more to go, and then I will be at goal. So
it's your bizarre number.
I know, like I don't know what I was thinking. I don't think I picked that number. I don't know what happened. But 429, there it is. And let me see if we have any new reviews. I don't think that we do. Nope. Last one was from March 26th. So it's been about a month now tomorrow. So guys, get on that. If you listen to the show and you like it, leave me a review on iTunes. Leave us a review because it's super helpful to finding new patrons and finding new listeners, and listeners leads to new patrons. So yeah, you guys should definitely do that. It's free. It's a good way to support the show totally without spending any money. And if you do want to spend money, you can become a patron yourself at patreon.com/unspoiled. And also on Amazon, you can shop like you always do and support the show by using unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon. And that is like, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost extra for you. I just get like a little slice of commission from them. So you should totally do that too. But my announcements. So I have been contemplating how to get some more listeners, and I've really hit this plateau I've reached about $1,500 a week, or a week. I fucking wish a month, right. On Patreon. And it's held there and for about 4 months, 6 months. And the last 2 months, it's dropped a little each month, which is the first time that that's happened more than once in a row. So I'm really finally kind of reaching this point that I'm like, I feel like I have done what I can with the audience that I currently have. And I need to reach out to new audiences. And the best way to do that is to bring in some content that is outside of what I have covered or plan to cover, because the way that Unspoiled is set up, where one person has seen it and one person hasn't, or one person's read it and one person hasn't, it really works the best with, established television shows and books. And I think that I've kind of, with A Song of Ice and Fire and Harry Potter, I've kind of like tapped the two biggest franchises for that. And Song of Ice and Fire isn't even done yet, but I digress. So I feel like I've been really resisting covering things that are currently airing because it's just difficult to do it the way that I do it and not have somebody get spoiled, and give time to one of the people to watch all of it ahead of time. And I don't necessarily have to do it that way. Me and Brendan covered Breaking Bad and both of us hadn't seen it. Me and Owen are covering Orphan Black and both of us hadn't seen it. So it's not like it's totally without precedent, but I prefer it. I think it just leads to a like slightly tighter show because there's somebody who can rein it in because they know what's important and what's not. So upcoming, after Penny Dreadful is over, which there are 10 episodes left, I will be finishing up The Leftovers with Rashawn, and we did the first 2 seasons in case you guys don't know, and those are all on iTunes. And then Rashawn and I are going to cover Westworld. And then Maggie and I are going to cover Legion.
Yeah.
So those are the next 3 things that are coming up. Beyond that, I don't have plans necessarily because that is going to be enough to hold us for like 6 months. But I think I'm going to try and keep this other block open because what is it? 8 episodes, I think, for the final season of Leftovers. And then Westworld is like 10 episodes. So they're short enough that I really will have to have something ready to go. But I haven't decided what that next show is going to be. The one thing that I've been thinking of is Veronica Mars, but that is finished. So that would be kind of going back to the old model, which I'm not sure is going to be a good idea. We'll have to see how it goes. So yeah, that's what's going to be going on. I'm hoping that brings in some more people because I have not, I had been getting by okay, but when things dropped a little bit and I had to take on some medical debt, they have fucking medical credit cards. This is what I had. This country, okay, I'm not doing this, but I swear to God, the fact that I had to take out a credit card specifically to pay for shit because we just can't get our goddamn shit together, especially in Texas, because they want us to hate Obamacare so they won't give us our fucking subsidies. I just hate it so much. So yeah, just I'm really getting to a point that I know I have said before, like, I'm going to have to get a job. And it hasn't happened, but I really have kind of reached the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to really face that it's been a few months now. And if this doesn't start to improve, I really am going to have to. And it's almost to the point where it has been such a struggle that I'm not even like that mad about it now. You know what I mean? Like you get to a point where you're like, yeah, it's going to suck, but being without money, it sucks more. Yeah. So maybe it's fine. I really don't want to like cut back on the shows that I'm covering. I really don't want to change up what I'm doing with other projects either. Broad Defense, which is a weekly live call-in to Congress that I do. You guys should look for that at facebook.com/broaddefense.org.
.org?
That is, it's broaddefense.org.
Okay.
Facebook.com, or it's broaddefense.org is the website. That and my writing are taking up like a lot of time. So I have full days. I'm working easily 50 hours a week, but it can be cut if I really need to. So, you know, we got to do what we got to do. If I have to get a job, you know, what the fuck? That's life. Everybody has to do shit they don't want to do. I just kind of had hoped that I had put that part of my don't want to do's behind me. But if I have to, then that's fine. Whatever. I'll have a little period where I actually have some money for a change, which would be cool. Maybe. Then you guys get to hear about all my weird customers and job experiences. Maybe I can have a podcast all about that. Bore everybody to tears. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say. Was just give you guys a heads up on all that. And if you have suggestions on currently running stuff that you think is amazing that I really, really need to cover, let me know. Because there have been things that people have requested, but anything that was currently running, whenever anybody suggested it, I was like, no. And I'm finally kind of opening up to doing something different. So hopefully that's good news to you guys.
Cool.
Is there anything you'd like to add, Serge? You want to plug some stuff?
Some stuff. If this is not your first time listening, then y'all know where to find me. I'm over at the Smash Fiction Podcast every Sunday. And that is the show where we pit couple various fictional characters together in various contests and argue about who would win, and generally crack jokes and talk about how sexy the characters are, and invent fanfic, and just generally have a good time and be goofy. So it's called Smash Fiction. Again, it's on iTunes. If you like the show, you can leave us a review. That'd be great. And subscribe. If you really like the show, you can go to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. We don't have quite as many patrons as you yet, Natasha, because we just launched this thing a couple of weeks ago. But, we got some. We got something coming in. People seem to like what we do. Most recently, what we do is Superman versus Goku. So that's fun.
Wow, you really lost your steam there for a second.
I'm actually not on that match because I had to take the week off, and they were like, "Oh, this is our chance to do Superman versus Goku because Miles will never do it."
Oh, okay, nice.
So they did that. It's actually it turned out really fun. I edited the episode, so I got to hear everything, and it's a lot of fun. This coming Sunday, we will be coming out with a three-way match, triple threat, which we lovingly call the Match of Beautiful Sword Boys. So it's Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy against Kenshin of Rurouni Kenshin against Siegfried from Soul Calibur. So that's a good one. Look for that this coming Sunday. And once again, we're on the Patreon, we're on Facebook, Twitter at Smashfic Podcast. You can email us, you can find us on Tumblr. It's a really good show. Check it out. And,
we're on the Patreon.
We're on the Patreon.
We're on the Facebook.
We're on all the Patreons. And then you can also find me over on Universes of the Mind, which is my blog about science fiction. And other things occasionally, but mostly science fiction. It's over at www.universesofthemind.com. I have not had a new post in a few weeks because I've been busy reading the latest book for the blog, the Robert Heinlein Hugo-winning novel Double Star. I am now finished with that novel. It was very good. So check back at Universes of the Mind in the ensuing weeks for some stuff about that. And then the last thing I'll say is if you want to hear me talk about Inuyasha and how much I hate it / how I would turn it into an RPG, I talk about that with Chris Newton over on this week's Gameable podcast. That's GAMEABLE podcast, and it is the part 2 of 2 of our Inuyasha conversation came out this past weekend. So check that out.
Cool. Yeah, talking about novels reminded me that I have the book club coming up on Saturday, May 6th. And it is going to be covering Kite Runner, which I mentioned in this episode. If you have not read this book, holy shit. This book, guys, it is so good. It is so good. Like, it is absolutely heart-wrenching, so tragic, and yet it is like pulsing with life. It is a book that does things that I haven't seen books do in ways like it's just slaps you in the face. And I really, really, really recommend it, especially with everything that is going on right now, because it really sheds some light on the situation in the Middle East, because it is set in Afghanistan, mostly. Part of it isn't in the United States, but mostly in Afghanistan. And it doesn't get into the politics of it. It just gets into the human experience. And it is just fascinating, really eye-opening, beautifully written, like some turns of phrase that I'm just like, oh my God. And really steeped in the culture so that it feels effortless in a way. And I just loved it. And it was so sad though. Oh my God. But like, it's sad in this really hopeful, beautiful way. So yeah, please, even if you don't join me for the book club, read this book. Seriously. Holy shit. Miles can't bear it. That's fair.
No.
All right. Well, that's everything. Are you good, sir? Are you ready to go?
I'm good. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, everybody, so much for listening. We love you. Leave us reviews. Let us know you love us back. And we will see you next week with 3 more chapters.
3 more.
3 more. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.